Hey, good morning, everyone. Dave Scott here, the head of marketing at Marketing Ideas for Printers. Welcome to week number 4 of Stop Being Misinformed about MIS and Start Growing Your Print Business. Like I said, I'm Dave Scott, the director of marketing here at Marketing Ideas for Printers, and I'm joined by Dave Halton, who is our fearless leader and president. A 26-year veteran of the print industry, Dave is, and what I would consider a MIS visionary. So welcome to, again, week 4 of our webinar series. A few parking lot items before we get started this morning. This will be recorded, as all of the previous weeks are recorded. Just so you know, we do upload them to our YouTube channel. So if you feel free to check that out, you can go to our website, which is simply marketingideasforprinters.com or mi4p.com. And just look in the lower left or upper right-hand corner, and you can find our little YouTube icon and click there. That will take it to your YouTube channels. Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, just keep in mind that all of these recordings will be emailed out to everyone afterwards. We'll have a few poll questions. So if you notice a few interruptions, don't be surprised. That's very normal. These poll questions are just to get you engaged and to answer some questions on our end. And then we will have Q&A held back at the very end. So we will have a question and answer session at the end. If you want to learn more, so if you are interested and you're watching this webinar and you're just like, man, I just want to get started today, or I want to learn about the pricing, or I want to learn a little bit more, just go to mi4p.com/MIS. That's mi4p.com/MIS. There's a form at the bottom of the page. You can fill that out, and Dave or Alyssa or Cindy, who work in our sales team, will reach out to you and schedule time to chat with you. We will have our sales promo at the very end. It's a really good savings. We've extended it this time again because we've seen such good engagement with it. So Dave will go over some of those details a little bit later. And then stick around toward the end of the webinar as well. We're going to have a brief survey that we would love to get your feedback on. Dave and I are constantly looking for ways to improve our webinars and make them better and more relevant for you guys and gals. So if you would stick around at the very end and take the survey, the brief survey. It will take you probably 2 or 3 minutes to fill it out. So with that said, Mr. Halton, I will pass it over to you to kick us off.
All right, well, let's do it. And what we are going to do is we're actually going to start with a review. We have had 3 webinars already, thrown a lot of information into the air here, and we just thought it'd be good to start with a review. It's actually going to be a good review to build to the focus of what we're going to talk about today. But let's go back to that very first webinar and just hit a couple of the bullet points. And we talked about Odyssey. That's the new print MIS that we've built and have launched now. And really, it was important to set the stage that this is not your typical MIS. There's a lot of traditional MIS tools in there, of course, but it's so much more than that, because here are the 2 big targets that we're aiming for. Is to we wanted to eliminate the double entry dilemma that so many printers have constantly told us that that's just a struggle. How do you handle people placing orders online, and then you have to re-enter all that information to actually get that into your production system? So that's one of the targets. And then the other target that we aimed for when we were building print MIS is we wanted to include marketing, and that's such a big part of Odyssey as well. Then in the next webinar, we talked about the order form being the interface. So if we're talking about Odyssey being a web-based MIS, that's the interface. That's the point where your online customers, if they're buying online, they could be doing their face-to-face orders, but if they're going online to place their orders, how do those order forms connect to the actual resources in your production environments that are making print happen? That's what we talked about. The order form is the interface where that transition point occurs. And if we build that out a little bit more, we back up from the order forms. How are people getting to the order forms? It might be using a web-to-print tool such as Design Edit. We're going to dive deeper into Design Edit a little bit later here. That's one of the number of web-to-print tools or access points that will lead a print buyer to the order form. Well, how do they get to that? How do they get to Design Edit? That's the marketing tool of Odyssey, where it's going to build that story and build that attraction so those print buyers are prompted to think of you when it's when it's their turn to buy printing, and that will lead them to those entry points like design edit, which brings them to the order form, which, as we just mentioned, connects to the resources. And we start working on the other end of that formula. The resources are what leads to the tasks that need to be performed. That's the job ticket, and that's your people and the production crew that are making printing happen. And that, of course, leads to that fun last step where money ends up in your pocket, where you get paid for making printing happen. And that's the long stretch that we're looking for. That was week 2, and possibly the longest run-on sentence that I could create today. So that's week 2. Then we moved on to our most recent webinar. We talked about scheduling. We dove a little bit deeper into the production side of Odyssey and talked about how your team, the production members, are connected by departments or organized by departments. The resources in your production facility are also organized by departments. And the tasks that result from those resources, the tasks that you need to do to make printing happen, those are also organized either completely by the tasks that are needed to make one printing job happen. That's a job ticket. Or that's where we started talking about scheduling now, is if we organize those tasks by the person or the department, the people that are making print happen. When we organize by similar tasks, that's the schedule. And that is what brings us up to today. We're going to start tying that all together through the lens of looking at gang runs. And we're going to be talking about how Odyssey helps create efficiency through gang runs. And gang runs are, of course, a way of producing multiple print jobs that share common paper characteristics and common ink characteristics. And we'll show you how Odyssey helps build that efficiency. So there you go. There is the whirlwind review. We're actually going to go through that again in a little bit of a different angle. But before we do, that's what brings up our very first poll, which is for us to find out a little bit more about your take on gang running.
So the question is, what percent of your orders are eligible for gang runs? So what percent of your orders are eligible for gang runs?
So think about all of those orders that are coming in. What percent of those orders in any small given frame of time are going to be sharing common papers and common inks, and therefore can all be produced at the same time as a gang run?
So we'll give everyone a minute or two to fill those out, and then we will come back and wrap this up in a minute.
Okay, it looks like we've got a number of people voted, just about everyone. So if you've fallen asleep out there, time to shake that mouse loose and get that last vote in. But let's go ahead and close the poll and put up the results.
Cool.
And there we go. So 80% of you have somewhere in that 0 to 10% range of orders that are eligible for gang running. And then we have a big gap, and then we're going to 20% of you are saying 30+% of your jobs are gang runs. So there's a big gap in the middle. Not quite sure what that means, but I have a suspicion, and we'll touch on that as we go here too. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to build back up to that gang running, but what I'm going to do it a little bit differently, approach that. We're actually just going to kind of review everything we just did, but maybe from a little bit of a different angle. And I'm going to show you that path that that would ultimately lead to that point where you would want to consider gang running. So on my screen here, I have my cheat sheet, I have my slides going. I have Odyssey running in the background, and that is from the perspective of you as a printer. But then I'm going to start over here from the perspective of a print buyer coming to your website. So that's the role that I'm playing now. I'm being a print buyer coming to your website, and I'm thinking to myself, today is a great day to order business cards. And so I'm going to go there. And the reason I might think that today is a great day to order business cards is because I've had that marketing message that says it's time to go order business cards and you need to go to this website to do it. And so now we've pulled up Design Edit, a library of thousands and thousands of templates. We've already narrowed it down to business cards. I'm living on the edge today. I don't know what we're going to find here. I'm just going to pull one up. Let's go with this one, and we're going to customize this design. And this is Design Edit now. So the Design Edit is loading, and as you will see here in just a moment, this is a web to print tool that allows your customers to start with a pre-made template, still customizable, still personalizable. Personalizable, is that a word? Today it is. So that's what we're going to look at right here. All of the web to print tools that they would expect. And we'll spend just a few moments customizing that. We'll change that image from the logo. I happen to have a logo library in here already, so we're going to go ahead and crop that down a bit and bring that in. Well, that's not going to be quite right. I'm going to have to increase the size of that guy a little bit here and play around with my cropping. You might have to kind of cheat a little bit and move some of these other boxes around too, but we'll just, for the sake of expediency, I won't go too deep into that, but we could. We could. And we'll just plug in a few of those blanks. And again, I'm doing this just so that you can see. Think of your print buyers so that you can see how easy it is for your customers to do printing online using a tool like this. This logo is just bugging me that it's not shrinking down, so I'm going to go ahead and we'll just play around with it a bit. We'll just move things around. Everyone around here gets nervous if I start having any design opinions, so this is about as far as I'm going to go. There. Now all of a sudden we have something that's a little bit friendlier on the eyes here. And I could spend a little bit more time actually lining those up if I wanted to do some alignment. Don't like that that's split onto two lines, so we're just going to drop the size of that just a hair for now. Have a second side if we wanted. Actually, this one's pretty easy to customize too on that second side, so we'll just go ahead and do that as well. And my same thing that I've run into before, so I'm going to just enlarge that a bit, and this guy will just go ahead and drop him down. Again, keep in mind the whole time I'm doing this, this is what your print buying customers could be doing online. And these days, if they're not doing it with you, they might be doing it with someone else. But we'd sure like to have them do that with you. And I'll give this project a name. And just like that, I've built a business card. And all that's left now then is to print it. Now we're feeding it back into our order form. Remember, the order form is the interface. And you're seeing that interface in action right now. Save my changes. You can see that if you take a look ahead or at the top of here, I already have predefined the size and the paper stock, and that the ink is full color. So we've taken those variables out of play because your customer just doesn't need to know them. They just want a business card. So we're going to go ahead and check out. I'll pick it up when it's complete. I will pay by invoice. You have control of setting up these shopping cart options here too, of course. But that is what we need to do to complete the order. And there we go. There's our confirmation that the order has been completed. And now what we'll do, we're going to switch gears. We're going to move from the print buyer's perspective and move into the perspective of you, a printer, and the people on your team, and see how that comes into Odyssey. So if we're going to look over here, we're going to look at the orders. And had I waited just a little bit longer rather than hopping around on the screen, I probably would have seen this bell ring up here too. But that's another way of getting alerted. You would get the email alerts as well. But for now, we can look at our order. And now, thinking back of the things we were reviewing, here's our job ticket, the collection of tasks that need to happen. We know what paper, we know what press it's running on, we know if there's some cutting involved, and we can go ahead and put it into production, or we might just say we're just going to hold on that for a while, because now we're getting to the point where we can gang that order. All right, so we've seen a lot of stuff. Now, this also could show up on your team's schedules. So as these tasks start popping in real time, you'll get alerted. You and your team will get alerted that there's work to be done, and that's pulling more of those pieces together. That's the scheduling part of that. But let me go back to the orders now, and there is a piece right up here that we have not spent time on before. That's today's webinar, the Create Gang Order. And if we click that, now all of a sudden it's showing just the gangable orders. It's already identified the ones that have common papers and common ink, so that these are the ones that can be ganged. And here's where it gets fun. So we say, which ones do we want to gang? It might be that for whatever reason we might decide, I'm not ready to run that one yet, so I'm going to keep that one out of the list. So I'm not going to do that right now today. We're going to go ahead and just put them all into the mix here. And actually, I had a number of these preloaded just so that we can get to the ganging part. And what I will do, actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to leave the one that we just created, webinar demo. I'm going to leave that one out of the mix. But we can go ahead and view our layout. And again, we have a few more options here. So I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to run this on a 12 by 18. We'll keep it on our Heidelberg 5-color press using 4 of those 5 colors. You'll do what you need to do to make it work for you. Make it work for your workflow with the press sheets and things like that. But now we just go over here and say, yep, let's run these. Now you notice here that some of them are different quantity. There's 500 for 3 of them, 1,500 for another, 1,000 for another one. Odyssey takes that into consideration, and let's see what happens here. And there it is. Odyssey has created a plan for you to gang run your printing. And if you like the way that looks, there's a few different things that you can try in here, some rotation and vertical and horizontal to play around with the grain direction, things of that nature. But we'll just kind of keep what's given. There's one order, this green, another is this lighter aqua, darker aqua, and a blue, and these orange. Kind of have your legend of how you can lay this out, and it preps your orders for gang running. Now that's more on the mechanical side, but now from the production side, this is the part that I think is just really a neat way of doing things. Our developers just did a nice job on this. We're going to take all of these and we're going to create a combined order. We'll follow the prompts, let it do its thinking here for a little bit, and it made that combined order. Now here's my other gangable orders that I looked at before. I'm not interested in that now, but what I am interested in is this right here, this gangable order. Now it is ganged, and so if we actually look at that, now instead of reflecting the individual 2 by 3.5 inch business cards, now we're looking at the actual production equipment that we need, or the gang run parameters. So you can see it, here's our stock size of 12 by 18, and we can look at the other details and just see it all drifting into place there. And on and on and on. And now again, remember from our review that this is the tool that allows gang running to happen because it's combining all of those common characteristics. It's pulling in the jobs that you have determined that you want to run as a gang order, and it's saying, let's pull these together in and put them together and line up the tasks so that the scheduling can do its thing and everyone is kept on the same page. Phew, that's a lot of information to tie together there. But as we were preparing this webinar, it was just so much fun saying, yes, this is about ganging, but it's really about everything else that we've talked about to this point coming together at this one moment. This is one of the benefits that Odyssey can bring to you. That, I believe, is also what leads us to our next poll. So let me bring that one up, Dave.
All right. So what % of your eligible orders are you gang running? So the third and final poll question of today is, what percentage of your eligible orders, not orders, your eligible orders, are you gang running? So we'll give y'all about a minute or two to fill that out and answer that poll question, and then we'll wrap it up here in a minute.
And we're not seeing as many votes come in as fast, so this might seem like a sit back and relax question, but please go ahead and continue to vote here. So just think about that. Eligible orders, that means we're talking about jobs within a certain period of time that are all going to have that common paper and that common ink. So that's what we're looking for here. All right, let's see how we're doing. Let's close that poll and put up the results. And there we go. Okay, so good. So half of you are running 0 to 25%. We got too many percents flowing around here. We have to really interpret this one. So, so half of the people that answered are running 0 to 25 of your eligible orders, 0 to 25% of your eligible orders as gang runs right now. A quarter of you are running 25 to 50% of your eligible orders as gang runs. And a quarter of you are running 50 to 75% of your eligible orders as gang runs. And none of you are running as many as you could in that 75 to 100% category. So there might be some work to do. And we'll have one more poll question that'll address that here too. So let's go next to my slides again. And we do have that promo. We told you we wanted to talk about that as well because this is kind of important stuff here. As Dave said, we had really a good reaction to our promos. So they have been extended to July 15th. And there's actually 2 promos in place. So the first one is for people that are brand new customers for us, that they don't have Odyssey, they don't have a website with us yet. And just as the side note, that's the important thing to know, is that today's version of Odyssey does require a website from Marketing Ideas for Printers. There will be a time down the road where Odyssey will work on any website, but today's version of Odyssey does require a website from Marketing Ideas for Printers, along with the e-commerce suite to help make business happen. And so if you're brand new, you don't have a website from us yet, this is the promo for you. We're actually going to completely waive our implementation charges for the website and the e-commerce suite. You'll still have the Odyssey implementation charge to pay. We're going to get you started with that, but even when you get started, you don't have to start your monthly subscription for 30 days. Everything on the monthly subscription, that starts on day 31. So bottom line is that is a $1,498 value for people that have not got started with a website from Marketing Ideas for Printers. However, if you already do have a website from Marketing Ideas for Printers, then this next promo is for you. And that is if you have a website from Marketing Ideas for Printers. And Design Edit has really become a favorite of mine. And just for what we talked about today, that was one of the reasons that I get so excited about it, is because it's one of those entry points that just makes printing happen online. And so if that's you, if you're ready to go into that direction and you have a website, but you do not have Design Edit yet, we're going to get you started with Design Edit and the e-commerce suite at no charge on the implementation charge when you start up with Odyssey. So we'll go ahead and get your Odyssey subscription going. You pay the Odyssey implementation charge. We'll add Design Edit. We'll waive the charge. We'll add e-commerce suite. We'll waive the implementation charge on both of those. And then the Odyssey subscription starts on day 31. Okay, that, I believe, gets us up to our last poll question. Actually, it doesn't. I think I've got these out of order. I'm going to backtrack a little bit because here's where I wanted to go with my Walmart story. And I threw this one in at the last minute. This is actually a conversation I had just yesterday with someone that was exploring our websites and Odyssey. And considering what we just talked about with kind of that path of people finding a marketing message that gets them to Design Edit, that gets them to the order, that gets them ultimately to that gang run, my mind went back to this story, and it's in these two pictures. These are pictures that I took from a Walmart that's not too far from our house. And honestly, when I go to some nights, I'm so excited because there's a grocery store that's going up just not too far down the road from us in our neighborhood. And I'm excited about that because I really don't like going to Walmart for those late night emergency grocery runs. Right now, that's the place to go to. That's the closest one to go to when it's late at night and I don't want to go to a regular grocery store. But here's what makes it tolerable for me. And it's these self-checkout lines. You can see them there. The left is the self-checkout area. The right is I was in line. And the funny thing about that picture is if you were to look beyond that into some of the other lines, those lines are wide open. No one's going to them with real people. Everyone's waiting for the self-checkout lines because they just want to get in and they want to get out and they just would rather just do it themselves. That's what brings us back to today's presentation and why things like Design Edit and then ultimately Odyssey is so important, is because this is the way people work these days and the way people shop these days. It wasn't that long ago where people would go into a line like this and say, I want that face-to-face contact, and this is, it's ridiculous to do self-checkout. Now look at the lines. Everyone's clustering around the self-checkout. Now, think about people ordering printing from you. That's why this is an important deal. They're not always wanting to come and visit you face-to-face. I know you're all wonderful people and you look great and you've got the most inviting staff. They just want to shop online, and that's the way things are these days. And that's why things like Design Edit are so important, and why Odyssey can help enable that mindset. Still work for people to come in and do business with you face to face. That's not gone, but this is an important deal here. And it's this Walmart example. I keep going back to it. Gotta adapt to the way people expect you to service them.
No, I love it. Well said, Dave. And I think just to put a bow on this, it's the consumer that determines value, right? So it's not us, it's your customers, it's our customers, which are ideally you. So we just want to make sure that we're providing that said value to them, because at the end of the day, it's not about what we want or what we think. We want to serve them and we want to give them value. So it's the consumer that determines value. Dave, was there anything else you wanted to add? Otherwise, I'll just wrap this up for today.
Well, I think now is when we have that last poll question. We did have one more, and it kind of relates back to this. And let me just pull that up on the screen. And it's going to sound like a rhetorical question, but it's not. And here it is.
And the question is, are you missing out on opportunities for gang run printing? Yes, no, or we don't need no stinking gang run printing. So
yeah.
Are you missing out on any opportunities for gang run printing? Yes, no, or the third option. So go ahead and fill that out, and then we will wrap this poll question up.
And like I said, that might seem like a rhetorical question, and you may be tempted to treat it as such. And that's fine if you do, but I'd really encourage you to think about what I just talked about with Walmart. And I tend to get a little bit up on the soapbox on that one. That was really kind of one of those eye-opening experiences once I realized that I too was gravitating towards those self-checkout lines. So just really seriously think about this question. Are you missing out on opportunities for gang run printing? and everything that preceded it. You know, the opportunity for gang run printing in the way that we presented it here is by having the tools that allow your customers to do their business of buying printing online. So let's close that poll down, and had a number of votes, not all of them, but here's where we go. So there are people out there that are missing out on opportunities, and there are people that don't need no stinking gang run printing.
Love it.
So we'll see where you're at in that. But please stick around for the survey afterwards too. There's an opportunity there for you to talk to us as well. So if this is something that's kind of resonating with you, let us know that in the survey as well.
Yeah.
But with that said, I think we are at the point where we can wrap this up. So let me pull those results off. Let's get this back up. Let me catch my slides up to speed. Just that quick recap of the promos for our new customers that do not have a website with us. We'll waive the implementation charges on the website and e-commerce suite so that you can get started with Odyssey. Pay the implementation charge on Odyssey. We'll give you all of that for no charge at 30 days, and the monthly subscriptions start on day 31. Existing customers that want to explore Design Edit, if you don't have that yet, you can add that on, and the e-commerce suite will waive the implementation charge on those as well when you pay your implementation charge for your Odyssey subscription. And your Odyssey subscription starts on day 31, so that will remain at no charge for 30 days. And then you also right immediately have access for you to get 24,000 plus Design Edit templates into the hands of your print buyers so they can start moving on that path as well. Those promos are going to July 15th.
Yes. No, but like we said earlier, and like Dave and I mentioned, the promos were such a smashing hit with you all that we wanted to extend them, and everybody really found them valuable. So it's a win-win for everybody. And just to piggyback on the implementation portion, Dave, we handle everything for you now. In the past, what we've done is it's been a combination of going back and forth, and maybe the printer wanted to handle implementation on their own, and maybe we wanted to handle a portion of it. Well, we just don't do it that way anymore. We do it all for you, and we have a white glove service, a proven process that will take you through the entire implementation and setup process of Odyssey and your MIS tool within your print business.
So if you're ready to move forward with any of that, let us know. You can get a hold of me. My email address is on this slide. Pretty easy. We just use our abbreviations, dh@mi4p.com. I know a number of you have already been talking with Cindy and Alyssa as well, so get a hold of them too. ac@mi4p.com for Alyssa, and ch@mi4p.com for Cindy. And we would love to hear from you, and also make sure again to stick around for the survey right after we wrap this up. Dave, it's all over to you to take us out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Well, hey everyone, thanks for joining us again on week 4 of our webinar series. We've got 2 more weeks, so check your calendars and check the your email inbox. It will have all of the updated dates for the last 2 webinars. And again, the promotions, sales promotions have been extended through the 15th of the month of July, so you can breathe a little bit easier. You can save the money and then take advantage of that value as well. And again, if you want to get started, just check us out on the web at mi4p.com/MIS, and these webinars will be recorded and emailed out to you all afterwards. Well, I know the webinar was scheduled for 60 minutes, but we're about 30 minutes in, and we want to give you the rest of your hour back. So thanks everyone again for joining us today. We appreciate you all, and we'll talk with you guys soon.